Welcome. In this video, we're going to look at Desktop Server from ServerPress in order to get started with local development. We could start here over at serverpress.com, which is where we could get Desktop Server, the great and popular software for running WordPress locally. Now, they have two versions. We could see here a premium and a limited, and all the core functionality you're going to get with limited, and it's free. However, you could only run 3 sites at a time or have 3 local WordPress sites set up. Now, I suggest that you start off with this option. A lot of people are fine with it. However, when you start using it every day and really become reliant on it, it is definitely worth the unlimited one-time option, and you could see you get a bunch of extra features as well. Now, once you download and start up Desktop Server, whether you're on a Mac or a PC, the installation process is very straightforward. I'm not going to go over that here. You basically download it and then start clicking through until it's set up. However, once you have it set up, I do want to show you a few things. First of all, it is going to ask you to start it with privileges. Because of the way the server is running, it will require you to do this at boot up. So a little extra work there, but it is required. So once you have that done, depending on what version you're using, I have the Pro version here. So I have a bunch of developer plugins. Now, I'm not going to go over each one, but you can see I have bypass login checked here, which lets me log in locally without entering a username and password every time. And, this doesn't get exported live, so it's safe doing locally in a dev environment. And I like that feature. I also have videos, free videos on all of these, so you could see the link in the video notes for more on that. However, at this point, we basically just want to start up Apache and MySQL, which are going to be used in order to run WordPress. And once that is set up, we'll have a few extra options here. Notice that we could stop the server. So if we are done, we could just quit it, or we can go ahead and stop it or restart it. So we have that option. You can remove or move around different sites that you've already created. You could create subdomains, and you could export or import other sites. So these are some of the options, but I'm just going to show you the basic here, which is just creating a new development website. I'm going to click next. I'm going to name this WordPress.dev. When you're working locally with this software, and the other one that we'll look at as well, they're going to automatically have .dev, and that's just so you don't confuse it with a .com or .org or something like that. You could use the same domain name as your main site, but it's always going to be .dev, and you're not going to change that. Now, blueprints are something that are a little bit out of the scope for me to talk about, but you can have different setups of WordPress kind of ready to go. However, it does by default have blank non-WordPress. So if you just ever had a small PHP project or you just wanted a server set up and running, you could actually do this and not install WordPress at all. So we're going to leave it on the WordPress install. And finally, notice that it's going to automatically put your files or the folders that you need into documents, websites, and then WordPress.dev, which is based off of this URL. However, you can browse and change that. I actually personally like to save my sites into Dropbox so that I could have that synced on any computer I need and backed up. You may not find that helpful or necessary. So by default, they're here. You could change that. You could put it anywhere and it shouldn't mess anything up. So that's the basics. Let's go on to the next step. You can see once everything is finished, it will tell you, hey, you now have WordPress all set up. You can go ahead and install it. So coming over here to WordPress.dev, normal basic WordPress installation process. I don't really need to show you or go through these steps to set up a site, but you do. So I suggest you at least grab this free version of Desktop Server if you don't already have it. Go through the process, set up the site locally, and you're ready to go. Now, I want to show you one other thing, which is if we have Desktop Server running and we just go to localhost, so no .com, no port, no anything else, it's going to load up this page. And you can see I have a bunch of different sites set up already in ServerPress, and they have these quick links where I could jump right to the website, or I could jump right to the dashboard, or I could jump right to the database. So This can be helpful. If you pop this open, this is going to give you PHPMyAdmin, which is a very common online web app for interacting with MySQL databases. And this will let you run whatever you need and do whatever you need to do to modify and check out your local database. So that's a really handy feature. You may find that helpful. And you could also jump directly to PHPMyAdmin for all of the different ones from here. So there you go, Desktop Server. I really suggest you try it out, play around with it. And then in the next video, we'll take a look at one of the alternatives for Desktop Server that's basically going to do the same thing.